Yo, what up? Did you miss me? Well, I'm back, so here we go. John was first on his feet, bleary vision dotted with blackness. He winced through the snow and sleet, a seemingly endless sea of pure black churning in the near distance. Scattered, malformed islands dotted the horizon, frost-coated trees rising into the mist behind him. His eyes flashed to the upper third of his vision. Round goal was barely visible through frazzled static. Everyone not on the boat in 1 hour dies. A red timer was accompanied by a compass pointing somewhere beyond the next snowy ridge. John braced himself against a tree, numb fingers scraping against the frost-coated bark. Wind whipped at his clothes, crystalline flakes distorting around his puppet. "Sams!" he cried over the howling weather, searching hopelessly for Sarah in the blinding snow. "Time and location!" Buffeting gusts lashed violently. The roiling clouds descended into a suffocating mist. "Time. Error," Sams replied with heavy interference. "Location." "Alaska," a voice spoke. Sarah casually leaned against a tree beside John. 6 p.m., August 18th, 2011. John flinched back instinctively, only to stagger as Sarah's puppet clamped against his wrist to hold him in place before the wind could bowl him over. Blood dribbled to the snow, John bracing back against the tree before Sarah finally spit out his arm. "Jesus," he hissed, flicking more blood onto the snow. "You have a normal hand." "A location goal." Sarah just narrowed her eyes, talking to John as much as herself. "The boat. Wonder what happens in an hour." "Least of my concerns at the moment." John put up his arm to try and block the whipping snowflakes. "I imagine the road there is the challenge," Sarah continued, eyes flashing as she navigated through some UI interface. "Though I also have to assume there will be a twist at the end. Perhaps all partners will turn red once on the boat." "You do think like Ponder," John responded coldly. "We're not going anywhere until we clear some things up." Sarah just smirked, steely eyes meeting his. "So far from Romania, the sickness still spreads." She narrowed her eyes. "Ponder's secret message from last round. Have to assume that relates to our current goal. Ever been to Romania, John? Wonder what kind of creatures come from such a place." Her words were strangled to mute shock as John's puppet snapped around her wrist, her balance slipping as John began dragging her backwards. Wait, John!" She grabbed at his arm to steady herself, sliding along behind him. "The boat is the other way, what are you—" Her words were again stuffed to nothing as John violently pivoted, releasing her to stumble down a rocky hill. She finally caught herself just before vaulting off a large cliff. John stood above, eyes narrowed. "You figured it out," he spoke coldly. "You figured it out same as me." Whoa, easy," Sarah recoiled, eyes narrowing. "What are you? Whose side are you on?" John just continued. "Answer honestly or I swear to God I will kill you." A nail gun-like fixture rotated from his puppet, ghastly needle priming. "Side?" Sarah put out her hand. "Chill, dude. Something you want to talk about?" She shrieked as a blur of metal flashed between her eyes. She barely deflected the needle with her puppet, staggering back as distortions tore the silver dagger off into the wind. "I am sick of this dance," John hissed, weapon reloading as he walked slowly forward. "Nothing to talk about, but something you can tell me. One word, yes or no. Are you still working for Ponder?" "You're out of your damn mind," Sarah snapped back, shock igniting into rage. Metal ruptured from beneath her puppet, locking into a grisly chainsaw. "Stop right there," she lashed, deflecting John's next shot. "I'll cut your fucking head off, John. What is wrong with you? Is Cold's crazy contagious?" "That's not a no." He slowly looked down, face not betraying any emotion. "Of course not." The nail gun folded away with scuttling metal, reorienting into a speared grappling barb. "Easy, buddy." Sarah's eyes tracked him, stance rigidifying. What the fuck are you on about? You don't even know how to use that damn puppet. Know how to block? John gnashed, his puppet waving its arms excitedly. Or would Ponder ever let himself be injured in the first place? Is it considered player killing if you're not even a contestant? What? Sarah's pupils constricted in rage. Me? You fucking moron! You were supposed to help me find him, not accuse me! Her eyes strangled to jittering pinpricks, slowly sliding down to her chest. The metal barb was splintered sideways against her sternum, steaming blood almost instantly crystallizing in the wind. What? She gagged, nearly soundlessly, blood spilling from her lips as her pale limbs failed her. Her knees cracked against the snow, black hair falling over her face as her puppeted hand felt blindly at the barb. Oh, fuck. John staggered, puppet shaking as he stared in horror. Warning, player killer, flashed repeatedly in his UI. Exsanguination imminent. Why? Sarah's steaming breath began to chill, pooling blood melting the snow to mud around her. Just say no! John slowly regained back his confidence, staring at the wire leading from his puppet to the grappling barb. Why the fuck can't you just say no? Who said? Sarah gagged, dark hair slithering in the snow. There are only two sides. John's eyes widened just as a volley of silver needles arced through the air. Gore sprayed violently, John spiraling to the ground. Sarah wrenched the barb out and collapsed onto her back. She pressed her puppet against her wound as its nail gun folded away, distortions attempting to block her remaining blood inside. John, in turn, wrenched a metal nail from his eye, puppet fumbling at 3 more in his chest. He gasped in agony, Sam's glitching to warn him to avoid removing a spear too close to his heart. Blood spilled from his eye, neither him nor Sarah having the strength to continue. Both breathed horrid, ragged half-breaths, snow rapidly building up around them as their wounds turned sickly shades of black in the crystallizing wind. Puppet healing factor might kick in before either of us die. Sarah finally spoke aloud, nearly entirely covered in drifting snow. If we're lucky enough for that, you gonna attack me again, huh? I know you're not red, and sorry to tell you, but I am a contestant. Some of the trust has gotta come from you. Why? John stared upwards, blood from his eyes frozen in patterned streaks down his face. I know you figured it out too. I just want to know why. I really don't follow, Sarah breathed out, eyes flashing back to the sky. I don't think I'm as cryptic as you think, John. Vessel 748. John was finally barely able to move his legs. He knew something was fishy with Malaya's suicide as well. I didn't know that's what it was called, but 748 was the ponder puppet Malaya possessed through the beer pong round, wasn't it? Sarah was silent for some time, breathing slowly. Yes, she finally spoke. Malaya's suicide was undoubtedly staged, or at least not the whole piece of the puzzle. Ponder got careless. I think he underestimated her. If she knew how to hack and remove her puppet all along, yet didn't use this to escape, it only follows that she was waiting for an opportunity for something bigger. Escaping wouldn't have done any good anyway. John slowly struggled to sit upright, though making no moves towards Sarah. Her dimension was still being held hostage. There's no way she planned her own elimination, but must have had a piece in play in the event it happened. Imagining she succeeded in staging the suicide the minute Ponder destroyed her dimension, he lost any influence over her. It's not impossible to assume Malaya was able to leave a splinter of herself in Vessel 748. Sarah struggled to sit upright as well, slowly leaning back to John, each supporting the other. She's a virus after all, much like Ponder. Her ability to wiggle her way free from her puppet is proof enough we have no idea what she is and isn't capable of. If she survived, Ponder was a fool to destroy her dimension for show. There's no telling what she might do now. The two sat against each other for another minute of silence, horrible injuries making them look like a single mound of flesh decomposing in the wasteland. "And you told Ponder all of this?" John spoke quietly, words falling lifelessly to the snow. Or at least tried to. It doesn't take much inference to know you were trying to protect him. John's head bowed from exhaustion, Sarah closely following. "I just want to know why." John finally finished, words dying out as steam ceased to swirl from his breath. "Sorry, John." Sarah's eyes blinked agonizingly slowly. "We're all in this for ourselves. Not everyone has such a noble cause. Not everyone wants PuppetGAME to end." "Why?" Blood slowly formed icicles from John's mouth. "You'd try to kill me again." Sarah's head bowed further. "Sorry. Some secrets are just mine." John slipped to the ground, Sarah toppling limply on top of him. Both stared blindly upwards. "But," Sarah finally croaked, "while I want to protect PuppetGAME, I want Ponder dead, same as you. That I can promise." "I am not red." Calli spoke dryly, head bowed as snow drifted past her and Cold. Trees were leveled around them from the SPLICE, two pale forms walking through a scorched wasteland. Cold followed a ways behind, eyes carefully glued to the creature. "And you are not either," Calli continued in the same dead tone. "Yet I can tell you still wish to harm me." Cold fumbled the knife in her hand, puppet teeth slowly opening and closing. A sudden blue flash let them know the puppet healing factor had just occurred. "You will not be able to get within a few feet." Calli's green eyes swiveled to stare at Cold, pupils sluggishly dilating and contracting randomly. "This I promise you. I do not wish to continue this journey with you in this state. There is no use for a partner I cannot trust." Calli stopped, Cold slowly mirroring her. "Put in easy terms." Calli stared emotionlessly. "Pledge your allegiance here, or I will dismember you and carry on to the destination myself. The puppet healing factor just occurred. It will be some time before you could catch up. I do not wish to enter hostile territory with you. Make your choice before we waste more time." Cold giggled softly, twisting slightly as she flushed. "You think my word means anything?" Her words slithered out, moving her other gaunt hand to pet her puppet. "You think your word means anything?" "The round goal does not require both partners to survive," Calli just continued. "I would rather you perished here, but naturally cannot kill you. You may tag along if you wish to, but not if you have ill intentions for me." "I do not wish such a fate for you." Cold spoke numbly, eyes burning holes in the ground. "I just want to understand. I want to know why no one can see the things I see, the bigger picture to all of this." "You are unstable." Calli spoke numbly. "This feeling you describe is something familiar. I was not unlike you once. I do not wish you harm, but cannot protect you from harming yourself should you choose so. Please make a decision for this moment." "You don't know the lengths I've gone to," Cold softly spoke. To be where you are now, the things you take for granted, the people and existences you let pass you by. I made a mistake before. I see this now. I see this in the way this new world, this game brought about a second reality. I will not let something like you corrupt my last chance to fix so many timelines. You or John die. Calli narrowed her gaze. If I am understanding your psychosis correctly, you have killed John Matthews in your world and cannot undo this. You cannot steal back life from another timeline. We are both murderers, and yet I do not delude myself so pathetically. This is no great quest. You are just a sad, small girl. There is no future in which you both exist anymore. You cannot both win the game, cannot change this. You are delusional if you believe others to be the cause of your misery. You don't understand. Cold shook, hair wandering in the sideways wind as her head bowed. And you will not dissuade me. There is a future if I try hard enough. What harm is it to you if I believe a mistake can be corrected? That there is a force larger than any individual? Your words mean nothing to me. She balled her hand. But this feeling is so familiar. She laughed sickly, trembling. Losing control. I know I have no great power, no omnipotence to protect what I want. I am just a small, human girl. But all I want is something small. She shivered, head bowing further. I know this so well. She shook. This feeling of slipping away. I won't repeat my mistakes, and you won't take that power from me. It's not your fault. Perhaps this is my power, the ability to regain control. Countless saw blades and pincers slowly slithered from her puppet. It's okay. She shook her head, taking a tender step forward. I am not your enemy, Calli Ames. You might be scared too, but I understand because I've been here before. I don't want anyone to get hurt. I'm scared just like you. She shuddered a tense giggle, flushing deep red. It's embarrassing to admit how scared I am. She squirmed, arm flexing as a massive hypodermic drill slithered from beneath her puppet to join the other instruments. But I do it because we're not too different, you and I. You said so yourself. I got past it. You can too. I can help you. Understood. Calli nodded softly. If that is your answer. A beat of silence slowly fell with the snow, Cold approaching tenderly as Calli stood utterly motionless. Cold softly smiled, raising her puppet like a stethoscope. Before the world shattered into blurs, the snow vaporized at Calli's feet, her body snapping with the speed of her movements as she slammed a chain through Cold's sternum. Blood spewed from strangled lips as Cold shattered against the ground in a fraction of a second, another chain tendril hacking into her shoulder before tearing the limb across the snow. Cold's breathing caught, eyes starched wide as her steaming flesh tumbled against the frigid ground. Her legs locked up just in time to be hacked to pieces, a burning hot chain wrapping around the tattered stumps. Calli pivoted violently, throwing Cold over her head before slamming her back against the ground with enough force to dislodge what was left of her leg. Steaming blood spewed in rivers from Cold's mangled near corpse, her piercing blue eyes staring with strangled shock at the sky. Apologies, I cannot kill you completely, Calli spoke in monotone, chain shrieking with heat vibrations before she hacked the wounds cleaner with surgical precision, cauterizing them to charred stumps. Cold stayed utterly silent, eyes showing no signs of movement as several snowflakes landed on her open irises. Only her puppeted hand remained attached, rabbit face down in the snow. When the healing factor kicks in, Calli turned and began walking away. You are free to attempt to reach me again. I hope you will reconsider your words next time, and I truly pray you get help. I would not wish your circumstances upon anyone. I am truly sorry. In another world, perhaps, I could have done more for you." Calli's feet crunched beneath her, chains vibrating for a bit longer to singe off Cold's blood before finally crashing against the ground to drag behind her. The two figures parted ways in the snow, until Calli made the mistake of glancing behind herself. A ghoulish nightmare stared back, a crooked grin carved so completely and permanently across Cold's mangled face that it was the only thing visible through the snow and fog. Not even Calli's heart was spared from locking up momentarily, deep green eyes flashing with something resembling unease. Calli slowly turned back around and continued her trek away. The howling wind almost sounded like laughter.